Hi guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching with a trade review for Thursday's trade. And wow, we had a mirror trade this morning, which was just, these mirror trades have just been crazy, and they've been hard to trade, quite frankly. Now, for those of y'all that are getting it, that's fantastic, but you know, the rotations that we're getting, the counter rotations are just incredibly small in both directions, quite frankly, and it's making for some difficult trading conditions. And so the question is, what do we do in that situation, right? So a couple of things. The first thing I want to point out is, you know, the most basic concept of the zones, right, is that first touch into the zone, we're looking for a pause and a possible, right, not an absolute, but a possible rotation lower, right? And we would like to attain this rotation lower in less than 25 minutes, okay? And preferably actually under 20 minutes. I can tell you that my time out of the zone is considerably less on average over really anything prior to the last 2 weeks. So when I exceed that, I know that I have a very good chance of having the market rotate up against me and through. So I'm always concerned that that when I exceed that time, that I should be out of the trade or I should cover. And you'll forgive me, I'm a little bit tired. It's been just the longest day today. So first concept, right, is that we want to make sure that we're trading the first time into the zone, not the second time. The next concept that we want is, are we having an open drive higher? So we mentioned, if you looked at this morning's market preview, and unfortunately I'm having a difficult time downloading that, so as soon as I get it downloaded, I will post it to the blog. But every morning I mention the same thing, looking for open drive higher. First 3 bars are up, right? Or we have a single very large bar, or the inversion of this, right? The first 3 bars, we either have one very large bar down or 3 bars in a row. Now clearly out of the gate we did not have an open drive higher, right? It's very clear and distinct. First time into the zone, we got a rotation lower. Now people were asking me, well, do I take this trade or do I not take this trade? And it's an excellent question. Prior to when we started having all these open drives, I would take that first zone almost each and every time without hesitation. Okay. Since we've been having these open drives, one of the parts that's important to being a trader is staying flexible and opening up to what the market's offering. So in that vein, right, the market has been having very wide ranges relative to where we were at the end of last year, and that has required an adjustment on my part. So one of the reasons I use the 6 to 10 point rotation is to make sure that we get a good stretch before taking a trade, so that we do not get smacked, right, with a market that is running with an open drive and take a loss right out of the gate. Okay, so what inevitably that means is, if you're waiting for a large rotation, is that you don't take the first trade into this zone. The rotation is not large enough. It doesn't mean that trade can't work. It is the first time into the zone. I do expect a pause, and I expect a rotation lower. What I'm trying to avoid is getting crushed in an open drive. You have to make that decision for yourself as to whether that trade is acceptable in the morning based on your statistics. I have spreadsheets, and I know what size rotation works well into those zones. And as soon as this zone, meaning this first zone with smaller than a 6 point rotation, starts working, and I see it repeatedly happening, I'll be more than happy to nail this trade each and every time. Conversely, right, if you look at this rotation size, we essentially went from 1853 down to 1846.50. So that's roughly 6.5 points. Normally, I take that rotation all day long. However, given the size of the moves up, and if you combine that, right, with the size of the rotations down, right, which have been considerable around news and have been considerable over the last couple of days, I think I can forgive myself, right, for not calling a trade in these 2 areas and waiting for a larger range expansion. Now normally, when I'm looking for a larger range expansion, I'm looking for a 10 point rotation. So the first trade here came into the zone. It was 1856, was approximately a 10 point rotation up, okay, and it just got blown out. Now I got to tell you, if I took 10-point rotations into zones each and every time, the gross majority of them over the course of a year would pay me fantastically. Secondly, one of the reasons I follow my trade rules is I can't sit around trying to figure out each and every time whether this zone is going to hold or not. That's the purpose of the stop, is that I know over X number of trades that I'm going to get X number of opportunities, and if that opportunity turns out to stop my trade, I'm not going to care. As so many people in the trading business will reiterate, it's not about any one trade, and it's not about any one day. What does that mean? Define it, right? If you're pushing yourself to be right on each and every trade, you're going to be fearful in each and every zone. What do people do when we get to these zones? They sit there and they want to have either a technical indicator, they want to see some sign of reversal first, they want to see volume, they want to see order flow, anything to give you what they would perceive to be an additional edge. But let me tell you, there's not much that'll help you with that. If you try to, I promise you, the same indicator that didn't give you a short here, didn't give you a short here, and didn't give you a short here. There's simply nothing that can give you that's technical in nature that is going to tell you outside of price, right? Price action and trade location that'll tell you whether this is going to reverse or not. There is no zone anywhere on this chart that I can tell you definitively and without question that this zone will not break. Simply not possible. And if you need that in your trading, right, you've already gotten behind the curve, because if you're waiting for confirmation that this zone is going to break down, for example, someone was waiting right here and they go, oh, now the zone's going to break down, they take the trade here, their stop is all the way back here, right, to that swing high, and they're busted. They're into the next zone up. We've already traded into the zone at least one time. All of it becomes much more difficult. And it simply doesn't work for me in trading, and all I can do is share what my experiences have been over an extended period of time and what my expectation is. My expectation is that I won't necessarily always make money, but I will always control my downside. I've learned that the hard way through past experience, and that I just want to survive this period of time to get to the next period where we are getting rotations and we are getting a two-sided market, because that's where I really excel, right? I do okay in these markets. I really excel in two-sided markets, and I can be very patient in waiting for those, right? And in the meantime, most of the last week, if you've watched, I've had a few good trades. I've sidestepped major areas of difficulty, and if I get stopped or chopped on one day, I can certainly live with that. I'm pretty confident when I come in tomorrow that I will have a good day. So that being said, let's go in and take a look at what it would take to trade this. So this trade clearly got blown out. I entered it. It came right to the stop. It really, actually the stop was at exactly 1860. Came right to it, stopped, and then rotated lower. Outside of, and I want to point something out. When this happened, everything in my body wanted to re-short this trade, okay? Everything in my body wanted to re-short this trade. I want to be clear about that. And that is a really bad habit. It's a natural gut reaction that most traders I've worked with have, right? You don't want to admit that you just took a loss. You don't want to experience the pain of watching the thing actually rotate lower, which it did, right? It eventually came into a profitable trade here. And if you follow that instinct, that is the instinct that leads to traders taking multiple trades in a very short period of time and racking up a series of small losses, or even worse, on a strong trend day up, multiple losses. And you end up going from a manageable down day or down trade where you're able to take your next trade to a, oh man, what the hell have I done to my trading account? And it sucks. So don't do it to yourself. Your stops are there to protect you. And if the stop is elected, right, if the market is elected to hit that stop, take a step back and then ask yourself, as Dr. Steenbarger will go through in his work, and other psychologists, other trading psychologists whose material is widely available, right? And they'll tell you, A, be nice to yourself. B, go to your journal and look, instead of getting mad that you got stopped, go, how could have I done this better? Where was my opportunity for improvement in this trade? Okay? And then take an action step, right? What am I going to do different tomorrow? Was there anything that I could do different, right? And when I look at this and I look at the size of the rotation, I have a couple of criticisms based on where I put the zone, but outside of that, no, I would probably take that trade again, given the same circumstances, okay? And I did take the next trade up into the white zone. Now, normally the white zone is a very profitable area for me, okay? It rotated well up into the zone. I normally would expect a pause. So when I see this right here like this, the first thing I notice is two things. First of all, this zone became sloppy, right? Either side of the zone really didn't hold very well, and the traders had a pretty easy time going through it. Unlike that, the white zone, let's bring it over here for a little bit. The white zone was respected multiple times, right? We traded through the first time, traded above, backside tested right here, right? That's the first thing that told me, hey, I actually got this zone right. Second time into the zone, the back of the zone held to the tick. So what happened here? What was my criticism of the day? I generally stopped trading at 11 a.m. I entered this trade just after 11 a.m. And my conclusion on that would be, if my strongest hours are between the hours of 8:30 a.m. Central Time and 11 a.m. Central Time, to stick with the plan. So essentially, I handed myself a loss here because the rotation looked good, and I ignored a trading rule I have, which is get your first two trades of the day done prior to that 11 a.m. spot, and let everyone else worry about trading New York lunch, which is very, very difficult. And why is New York lunch difficult? By the way, let me go over this. If you'll go through and look at every day from this time period to about right here, well, you'll see one of two things. You'll either see it chop in an incredibly frustrating small range. Try to trade it. Good luck. It takes the patience of a saint. If you're trading a leveraged product like futures, this becomes very difficult to trade. People want to discount how hard this mentally is to hold on to. There's very few people that have a cool enough hand to wait this thing out. And what usually happens, right, is if you wait this out and then it breaks this way or it breaks this way and you're on the wrong side, you curse yourself. Or many traders do curse themselves, and it makes it very difficult to be nice to yourself, right? So take a step back. Being nice to yourself just isn't in the way you talk, but it's in the areas you decide to place your trades, right? Traders who want to trade New York lunch have a lower success rate than traders who get their business done prior to 11 a.m. I see that in the results of the guys I coach on a regular basis. So please just keep that in mind. I want to see how I'm doing on time here. We're at 13 minutes, and I want to kind of wrap this thing up. So needless to say, the white zone was placed just fine. It busted through. Nothing I can do about that except the time factor. I shouldn't have been in that trade, right? I didn't get it done prior to 11 a.m. and I know my odds drop for me after New York lunch begins. Next, you can also see during New York lunch, right, we finally rotated into Wednesday's high. Everyone was actually, I heard from all over the place, pretty confident that we were going to break this high, and we may do so overnight. But if you miss this entire trade all the way up and you're tracing up here, okay, you can see that eventually the market does give you a rotation lower, right? We moved from 1865 down to 1860. This is 5 points. If you chased here, right, let's say you lost your discipline. You chased here because you saw this zone break, and you saw this zone break, and you saw this zone break, right? And you figured, well, we're just going to break and go up to new highs. I can tell you I got a tweet from someone sometime today, and they said, you know, we're just going to go up to the highs and we're going to break up to new highs. Well, I hope that guy was long here because this is where he sent it when we were right here. And that's cool. I have no problem with that. Hopefully he was long from the lows, right? But let me tell you, if someone read that here and goes, oh man, we're going to break out to new highs, and so he buys it here, look how much time he spends. This is 11 o'clock. He's gone up. Uh-oh. He's all the way back to flat. It's now 12:15. He's come up. It's now 1 o'clock. Finally, I'm going to break up. Uh-oh. I'm upside down on my trade. Now I'm down on the day. I've just spent on this trade trying to get a break to new highs from 11 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. and I still don't have my break to new highs. Now, if he's lucky, he bought it right here and he was able to scale out and he might feel all right. But let me tell you, there's a second cost to doing this, and that is the amount of emotional energy you have to invest in this trade. So, mentioning that, I want to go back here. when I got stopped for my second time, right in here, let's see, it came right back, which again, that really sucked, right? It was almost at the high of the day that I got stopped. Now, I could have spent all the time in the world fighting this and going, no, I'm going to re-enter, no, I'm going to get long. I would be emotionally exhausted, possibly even bankrupt for the next day, right? I spent all that time, and in essence, right, even if I had figured out a way after getting stopped in that zone, if I had figured out a way to re-enter this trade, and then down, maybe I entered here, I was down here, stressing like hell, hoping, man, we don't break to the downside. Because if you'll notice, this is one of the first days. Go back and look at the closing drive of the last, really, any day we've had a trend day up, and the last half hour has sold off. It's been a repeated pattern. As a matter of fact, this is the first one where I've seen that we actually drove up into the close on a trend day up. It's been a while. And by the way, you might want to note that as a possible change in character. Just to notice, again, I'm not trading the last hour. I just want to see if there's change in character where we're getting faster moves to the upside and stronger moves to the upside, because that's what we probably need to get an eventual exhaustion. What I was going to say is, if you spent 4 hours to get that one little trade, and normally I'm able to hit my targets in under 25 minutes, well under 25 minutes, you're going to be exhausted at the end of the day, and it's going to be hard for you to garner the energy to go in and do your homework, do the market prep for the following day, do your meditations, do your exercise, spend time with your family. So think about the investment, just not in the cost of dollars, but how much energy have you expanded to make this trade work, okay? For me, it's just generally not worth it. Anyways, my name is Simon. I'm a trading coach. I pretty much try to address things that cause traders fear, over-trading, not respecting their stop loss, things that create issues with self-trust, and most of those things can be addressed through a process. In addition, right, I try to teach people how to come up with their own zones, how to treat their own trades, right, and how to manage their own capital, right, so that you're the one making the decision and you're not dependent on a trade calling service to come in and out of your trades. And if you can accomplish that, right, and I believe anyone can, if you can accomplish that, you can change your life and you can change the results of your trading. Instead of chasing a tail, like a dog chasing their tail, you become the master of your own destiny because you're no longer fearful of the market. It ends up putting control in your own hands, not of what the market's going to do, but of what you're going to do, and it gives you the confidence to come in day by day, take the correct setup, wait for the correct setup, right, and then execute all the way through knowing what you're going to do before you do it, and it has a massive positive impact on your life. Anyways, my name is Simon. I'm with Trade and Perform Coaching. You can reach me at tradeandperform@gmail.com or hit me on StockTwits or Twitter. And everyone have a great night. I appreciate all the positive messages I've been getting from people. So thanks to all of y'all. Have a great night. Bye-bye.